Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well. I'm back with another video today and I'm reviewing the Premier League games for game week 36. And we're going to start with Man City at home against Newcastle. Now of course for Man City, they'll still be thinking about what happened midweek. And to be fair, I think a lot of people are. I cannot believe Man City are out. For me, Pep Guardiola did pretty much everything that he could have done to try and secure the dub. And the idea that he's a fraud and he's failed is just absolutely ludicrous, given that he's won so many trophies at Man City. They play beautiful football, they've won so many games, but there is still a sense of, what if with the Champions League? Real Madrid were brilliant in terms of the way they were able to come back in the game. Carlo Ancelotti made excellent subs at the end, but for Man City, just gutting for them. But they've got to turn all their attention now to the Premier League and a game at home against Newcastle. Now, even though Newcastle are in really good form and they've definitely improved, and they've secured safety and survival weeks ago, which is stunning to think about given where Newcastle were at the beginning of January. But despite Newcastle's good form, they are better at home than they are away from home, and I think Man City will respond, and they're just too strong a team, so I think Man City will comfortably win this game. Next, we have Liverpool at home against Spurs, a really exciting game, given, of course, Liverpool still fighting for the Premier League title, only 1 point behind Man City, and Spurs themselves, they need to secure a top four spot, so very interesting to see what happens in this game. This is probably, in terms of the run-in, arguably one of Liverpool's hardest fixtures left this season, given that Spurs, of course, are fighting for a top four finish, and in the front three, in Kulusevski, Kane, but especially Son, they have real devastating world-class attackers that can change a game, any game. Okay, maybe Kulusevski isn't necessarily world-class, but certainly Kane and Son have proven it in the Premier League, right? And especially Son, he's devastating on the counter-attack. So Spurs definitely have it within them to score at Anfield, but defensively, I think Spurs aren't strong enough. Yes, the likes of Romero has had a really good season, and Lloris is still doing a pretty decent job for Spurs in goal, but I think Liverpool will be too strong going forward with their five world-class attackers that can basically just change any game within the space of 90 minutes, to be fair. Whether Diaz starts, Mane or Salah or Jota or even Firmino, Liverpool have those attackers. Any one of those attackers can have a good day, and that's Liverpool scoring a few goals. So I think Liverpool will just be too strong for Spurs. But I can see Spurs scoring, so I think this game will end 3-1 to Liverpool. Next we have Arsenal versus Leeds. I'm really looking forward to this game because both teams have to have a win. So you've got Arsenal, who are currently fourth. They need to secure a top four finish. And then Leeds, they're fighting to stay in the Premier League. Now, last weekend was probably the worst case scenario for Leeds, given they lost 4-0 against Man City and Burnley and Everton won. I will say, though, that Leeds played quite well. Given they were at home against Man City, I thought they fought quite valiantly, and it didn't really deserve to be a 4-0, but they're going to have to forget about their game and focus their attention on Arsenal, who, of course, are in really good form themselves. Having lost against the likes of Palace, Brighton and Southampton, Arsenal have responded to that really well by convincingly beating Chelsea away from home and Man United at home, and then beating West Ham away from home. So this is a really good fixture for Arsenal in the fact that before the North London derby, Arsenal at home to Leeds, Spurs away to Liverpool. Arsenal definitely have the easier fixture in that sense, but Leeds won't be a pushover, given that they've got relegation to fight off. So I think this will be a really entertaining game. I think both teams will score, but I can see Arsenal winning this one by 3-1. Then we have Leicester at home against Everton. Leicester, of course, in midweek lost against Roma in the Europa League Conference, so they probably won't be playing any European football next season. While Everton, they're fighting for their lives to stay up, and in terms of the relegation run-in for Everton, this is arguably one of their hardest fixtures left in the season. And it's typical in the relegation battle, but especially for a team like Everton, given the atmosphere they create at home, they'll be looking to win their home games. So Leicester away, you can't say it's a free hit because Everton need the points, but it's not a game that they'll expect to win because Leicester, for their patchy form, for their really dodgy defending at set pieces, they are still a decent team and they've got some really good players. You know, Lookman's in good form, Maddison's playing well, Harvey Barnes is in good form, so they've got good attacking players, have Leicester. But Everton, I think they'll fight for their lives, I think they'll perform well, and I can see them getting a draw, which I think some Everton fans would take. Online, it seems like Everton are more focused on their home games against the likes of Brentford and Palace. So, like I said, it's not as a free hit for Everton this game, but they won't probably be expected to win this, and I don't think they will. I think they'll still end in a 1-1 draw. Then we have Burnley at home to Villa. Now, unlike Everton, this is arguably one of Burnley's easiest fixtures from now until the end of the season. And, of course, they have to play Villa twice. First of all, they play them at home. Now, Villa, they've had a pretty disappointing season. You know, of course, they started with Dean Smith. He did okay, but then lost 5 games in a row. Steven Gerrard came in, had a really good impact, but since then, they've not been in great form. They responded with a good home win against Norwich and a credible but scrappy away draw against Leicester, 0-0. So for Villa, they will be expecting to win this, even though Burnley are in good form, and even though Burnley have a lot to play for. I reckon the Villa fans will be expecting to win this game, and I think it will be a competitive game for sure, in the sense that I think neither team will be on the beach. Of course, Burnley won't, but I don't think Villa will be on the beach. I don't think Steven Gerrard is the sort of manager that will completely accept that, and I don't think that will happen. But I can see this being a draw, and from Burnley's point of view, they probably wouldn't take a draw, given, like I said, this is one of Burnley's easiest fixtures, given they're at home against a mid to low table side in Aston Villa. So they won't accept a draw, but I can see this being a draw for Burnley. Then we have Crystal Palace at home against Watford. Now, if Watford don't win this game, they're mathematically relegated, but given there's still loads of games left, Watford are pretty much down anyway, and given that Roy Hodgson is all but confirmed to leave at the end of the season and retire, this is kind of a nothing game for Watford almost. They won't really take anything out of this one. So it's more about maybe, will they play some of their youngsters? Will they try a new formation? Or are they going to play the players that Watford know are going to be there next season? Because the likes of Sarr and Dennis and even Kuchka, are they going to be at Watford next season? Unlikely. So for me, if I was a Watford fan, I'd want to see the youngsters play, and I'd want to see Watford players that will almost certainly be there next season, given game time. So in that sense, I think it's going to be difficult for Watford to get anything out of this game, because Palace are a decent team, and I can see them comfortably winning 3-0, to be honest. Then we have Brighton at home against Man United. I mean, Man United, they'll just want the season to be over now. It's been a real car crash, especially towards the end of the season, and they almost certainly won't get Champions League football, so they'll just want the season to finish. But for Brighton, this has been a really good season. Since they've come up to the Premier League, and especially since Chris Hughton has been sacked, Brighton have been a really entertaining side to watch, creating loads of chances and playing really lovely football, but just not finishing those chances, and typically finishing in the bottom half of the table or just having poor runs to the end of the season. However, recently they've been playing really well, and they've been finishing off their chances and actually getting good results. So for Brighton, I think they'll be fully confident going into this game, and as strange as it is to say, they're arguably the favourites going into this game, given how well Brighton are playing and the form they're in. And of course the form that Man United are in, which is really bad at the moment. So for Brighton, they'll have full confidence going into this game they can beat Man United. And to be fair, I certainly think they'll be the better team. Whether they'll win is a different story. No, actually, you know what? I think Brighton will win this. I think Brighton will create more chances, and I can see them scoring. Danny Welbeck, I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Welbeck scored against his old side. So I'm going to say Brighton win this 2-1. Then we have Norwich at home against West Ham. Two teams basically now on the beach. You've got Norwich, who've had the real disappointment of this season and now confirmed relegated. So they'll just want to play the young players, maybe try out a different formation and see who's going to be available next season, similar to Watford. And then, of course, West Ham. They'll just still be thinking about that really disappointing result against Frankfurt. And I say result because West Ham, I think they performed really well, especially in Europe. And to be fair, in the Premier League this season, they've performed so well given how small the squad is and how far they've come since David Moyes was appointed second time around as West Ham manager. They've had a brilliant, brilliant season. And it was disappointing to go out against Frankfurt, but they still had a great season. But nevertheless, they'll still be thinking about that result in Germany, and I think it will boil over to this game against Norwich. And given Norwich are now confirmed relegated and they have very little to play for, I can see the Norwich players playing with a bit more freedom, and I can see the West Ham players still feeling kind of down after their result on Thursday in Germany. So I can see Norwich winning this game, or at least certainly getting a result. Then we have Chelsea at home against Wolves. Now, Chelsea, in recent games, they've been quite lethargic, not really concentrating, and it seems as though they kind of still were thinking about their European result against Real Madrid. Having said that, they did play well against Man United and they did deserve to win, but in this day and age, that's not really hard to do. So Chelsea, I'm hoping from their point of view that they can actually put in a really good performance and show that they are up for it from now until the end of the season, because they need to put in good performances in preparation for their FA Cup final against Liverpool, because if they don't perform well in the league, it's going to be so hard to just suddenly switch to being up for it for the Cup against Liverpool. As for Wolves, similar to Chelsea in the sense that in recent weeks, they haven't been putting in great performances, and the result against Brighton was really bad. At home, completely dominated, really poor effort. So they'll be looking to bounce back away against Chelsea. And given the fact that Chelsea are favourites, they'll probably be thinking that there's not as much pressure on them anymore. So I can see Wolves perhaps putting in a better performance than they did at home against Brighton, although that wasn't hard. I can still see Chelsea winning this game. And then finally, you got Brentford against Southampton. Brentford, they've had a brilliant season. I know they lost 3-0 away against Man United, but aside from that, in recent performances and results, they've been really well. They've played really well, and the fact they're already comfortably safe shows that they've had a really great season. Hopefully, from their point of view, they next season can keep the likes of Ivan Toney and Eriksen and continue to build from there. As for Southampton, I still think they've had a good season, and Ralph's still done a really good job at Southampton, but they are in danger somewhat of just dropping off, and there is a sense that normally with teams, if they have a really poor end to the previous season, it can boil over to next season. They start really badly, and then suddenly they find themselves in a perilous position. So obviously Saints won't want that to happen, so they'll need to put in a good performance against Brentford. And I can see this being quite an entertaining game, not too much to play for, so I'm going to say it's an entertaining 2-2 draw. So that's a quick Premier League preview for Game Week 36. Of course, there's not too much left in the season to play for, but there's still some exciting finishes, to be fair. Even though there are some games that don't mean too much, maybe the likes of Norwich, West Ham, Brentford, Southampton, the title race is still very much on. Top four still on, and to be fair, relegation is still on. So I say there's not too much to play for. That's actually not really true compared to previous Premier League seasons. So it's still quite entertaining. So it should be a good watch. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I appreciate you watching this and your patience. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.